Alright guys, so today we're working on a 99 I believe or a 2000 GMC Jimmy. So this video will be the same for like Jimmy, S10, Envoy, pretty much any four-wheel drive IFS Chevy that has riveted or bolted in ball joints. Bolted in would be ones that have already been replaced because GM usually rivets them all from factory. So I'm going to voice this over and hopefully it turns out okay. So right here we're just taking the axle nut off. That's the first step. And then next step, obviously, we take the lug nuts off so we can get the wheel off. Then there's a little washer that's behind that nut, so make sure you get that off. And then however you want to get these rivets out. We're using an air chisel. Worked really good in this case. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So you can use a grinder and cut an X in it and try to use a chisel and hammer. You can just grind them off. Whatever you got to do to get them out is the name of the game. So just do whatever you got to do and get them out of there. This is the upper ball joint. So that clip was in full length just to kind of show you guys how long it takes. It doesn't take very long in this particular case, but sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So since we're not going to reuse the ball joint, we can take a pickle fork or whatever you want to call it, ball joint fork, and just get in there and separate them, ball joint separator. Usually if you're going to reuse the ball joint, like say you're doing a wheel bearing or something of those sorts, or a CV axle, you're going to want to not use that because you're going to tear the boot and then the ball joint's junk. So he was just knocking out the last remaining piece of rivet that was in there, and then that'll come right out just like so. So the top's out. Now he's removing some of the ABS wires and some of the brake hoses and stuff like that so that he can get in there a lot easier, and we're going to actually swing that spindle out of the way. And here we're separating the lowers. And there you saw it drop. And we just set it so nothing got stressed, nothing got any weight put on it. We just set it on a cinder block, piece of wood if you got it, whatever. And then the bottoms have already been replaced, which is surprising because this only has like 75K on it. So it's gone through 2 sets of lower ball joints already, which is a little odd, but it is what it is, I guess, right? So the bottom ones were definitely a lot easier than the top ones, guys. So if you get lucky and yours have already been replaced and it's just bolts that come out, you got a lot easier job ahead of you. So basically we're just going to do reverse of what he did taking it apart. We're just going to put it back together. So you just put it up there with the seal and everything on it, the boot, and you'll just see him bolting these down in a second. And always put your grease fitting in last so you don't take a chance of breaking it. As you can see, ours is not in yet because you don't want to break that off in there. It's just a pain. Just a lot easier to avoid it by doing this. And then make sure those are cranked pretty tight. And then the upper is going back in, so all we have to do to that one is bolt it right back in as well. GM decided riveting was a good idea, so that's what they did from factory. I don't think too many other manufacturers did that. But you can see that ABS wire, the bracket, going back on because it was actually riveted from factory. So we're putting that guy back on there, and then he's just going to tighten everything up. everything went really well. You know, this can be a really difficult and time-consuming job. Then, of course, like I said, wait till last, put the grease fitting in, and we got that guy in. And now he's setting it back on the lower ball joint. At the same time, he's putting the CV axle in. So he got it up on there, and he's going to start the nut. You see him reaching for it there. And that's the castle nut that goes on the lower ball joint. So he's just going to get that started so it doesn't all fall back apart. Also, guys, make sure that you're using anti-seize on the splines for the CV axle. It'll just make it much easier taking it back apart if you ever have to do it again. And as you see, he'll slide that through, and he won't put the nut on yet. We don't have to worry about that. Then get a jack under the lower control arm and jack it up. Just makes it a lot easier. You don't have to manhandle it. If you want to manhandle it, you can, but just get it up, and then you'll see him pushing down on it just to get the nut started. And then he's tightening the nut up. And also, guys, don't forget to put your cotter pins in. You do not want those nuts backing off on you. So once you get them tight, make sure you put them in. I don't think he puts them in right away. He gets them tight, and then he rechecks them again later like a good mechanic should. And then he puts the cotter pins in. You can see him tightening the lower one now. If you tighten them both at the same time, you most likely will not forget about one. And then I think he just slid the cotter pin in. Now he's messing with the ABS wires and stuff, getting the stuff all back together like it's supposed to go, so you don't have any problems, you know, losing brakes, stretching the rubber brake hose, or any of that stuff. And then you're going to want to put the axle nut back on, and of course torque it. It's 103 or 104 foot-pounds in this case, but always check and see what your particular vehicle is. And also make sure that you do torque them, because that puts a load on the wheel bearing. So thanks for watching, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.